A well-planned attack on America. We saw it coming live on national TV. Some call this the second Pearl Harbor. Two airliners hijacked and flown into the World Trade Center. Both towers go down, maybe with thousands inside. One commuter on his way to New York from Pleasant Valley saw it as his marked bus stopped short of the Lincoln Tunnel.
When we looked over, the whole lower Manhattan was just covered in smoke. All the lower Manhattan, and the second tower was missing.
Some children in Scranton whose parents work in the city had only one question.
Is Daddy all right?
The president now at a secure military base in Nebraska this evening, but earlier he promised to find those responsible for the attacks.
Make no mistake, the United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
Who is next in this attack on America?
And good evening, I'm Mike Lewis. Thank you for joining us for a special edition this evening of Newswatch 16. We'll be on the air for the next 90 minutes. Newswatch 16 was in every corner of our area as this tragedy unfolded today, talking with people worried about loved ones in Washington and New York City, and watching as tight security measures were taken at courthouses, state and federal buildings here in our area today. We also have numerous cancellations, which will continue to crawl across the screen for you this evening. We're going to start in Monroe County, where we found commuters who actually witnessed the attack in New York City while riding a bus into the city today. Newswatch 16's Linda Skolsky just back from the Poconos, and she's in our newsroom with more on this story. Linda?
Mike, the national tragedy is hitting people hard everywhere, especially in the Poconos. Many people there commute to New York City every day. Some even have friends and family at the World Trade Center. So you can only imagine what these people were feeling when they saw the Twin Towers crumble right before their eyes. People wait anxiously for loved ones outside the MART's bus station near Delaware Water Gap.
I'm waiting for my wife to see, what's going on with that. She took an earlier bus.
Just as the second plane hit the World Trade Center, a number of buses from the Poconos were approaching the Lincoln Tunnel. It's the entrance to New York City.
The approach to the helix at the Lincoln Tunnel, we could see the World Trade Center smoking. It was like a scene out of a movie. Just unbelievable.
Woke up to look, and I just saw a plane. I thought it was just flying low around the towers, and it just went straight into the tower. And as it went into it, you could see the backside of the building exploded.
Immediately following the second explosion, commuters describe a frantic situation inside the buses.
As we got closer to almost like the mouth of the Lincoln Tunnel, we asked the bus driver, please don't go to the tunnel, stop the bus.
Several buses were stopped and diverted back to the Poconos, many arriving just before noon. The first thing most people did when they got off these buses was call their family members to let them know they were okay. Linda Skolsky, Newswatch 16. Mike, back to you.
Well, nobody was taking any chances today with this attack so close to home. Things were brought to a screeching halt in some parts of our area today. Newswatch 16's Marisa Burke spending time in Scranton today. She joins us now live with more on that. Marisa, what did you find?
Well, Mike, as you mentioned, much of the city, much of Lackawanna County here just at a standstill, came to a standstill earlier today after the terrorist attacks. We are live tonight from the American Red Cross Donation Center here along Meadow Avenue in Scranton, where it has been just an overwhelming day. And what I mean by that is the nurses inside just told me that they had over 120 people come here today to donate blood. A normal day is 25 people. They have about 25 people. They told me that many of the people who came here to donate today, and there were lines outside the center, were University of Scranton students, Marywood University students, who many of them have family and loved ones in the New York City area. So once again, here at the American Red Cross, it has just been a very, very busy day. They tell me here they haven't seen anything like this in their lifetime. But let's get back now to what had happened this morning. We were in Scranton when the city and Lackawanna County was put on alert soon after the attacks this morning. Approximately 20 minutes to 11, the William Nealon Federal Building and Courthouse in downtown Scranton ordered to close immediately. 200 workers file out of the building.
We got notice from the chief judge that he's closing the building. So that's what they're telling us.
Federal marshals post no parking signs around the building. Barricades are placed in the street, and yellow tape is strung around the building on North Washington Avenue. The building is officially off limits. This attorney had just wrapped up some legal work.
We finished it, and then we were asked to leave the building.
Who told you to leave?
One of the marshals.
Did they tell you why?
I'm assuming that all federal buildings are closed down.
As the federal building lets out, we find two women overcome with emotion. Moments later, word that the state office building on Lackawanna Avenue ordered to shut down. The Lackawanna County Courthouse closed as well. 2 Scranton police officers are suddenly stationed at the front and rear entrances to City Hall to increase security. After word that another hijacked plane goes down in a rural area near Pittsburgh, emergency operation centers in every county across the state are activated, including here in Lackawanna.
We're bringing all our people in that we would normally need to handle any type of major disaster. So for us it means bringing in communications people, fire, EMS, rescue, hospitals, Red Cross, National Guard, state police, all those folks that we might need to have available.
Points that could be subject of a terrorist attack. We don't know. We don't know where it could happen. It could happen here in this city. We don't know, but we want to be prepared for it.
Outside the county annex building, barricades go up as well. And then we see this county worker visibly shaken on a cell phone. A friend tells us the woman was desperately trying to find out if her niece was one of the flight attendants aboard one of the hijacked planes. In another part of the city, Community Medical Center is also put on alert in the event that any victims from New York are transported to the hospital's trauma center. Tension, fear of the unknown all over the city, and grief. By early afternoon in another part of Lackawanna County, flags already flying at half-staff. And as we come back here live now, you see another American flag flying over the Clarion Hotel here along Meadow Avenue. That is also flying at half-staff. Down Meadow Avenue just a little bit, another American flag. There you see it live, flying half-staff at the Penn Star Bank. So there is sorrow, there is grief, there is also definitely a feeling of uneasiness here. We are waiting for the latest word from a community medical center in town, on standby, on alert, waiting for any word from the New York City area on that. We have just learned that Lackawanna Ambulance has 4 ambulances on standby, ready to go in case they, too, are called to the New York City area. And we want to mention that the American Red Cross Donation Center here and along Meadow Avenue in Scranton will be open again tomorrow. The hours are 9 to 6. Marisa Burke, Newswatch 16, reporting live in Scranton.
Marisa, again, it's worth repeating, if people want to donate blood and help in this cause, the Red Cross still in need tonight?
The Red Cross is still in need, Mike. They actually closed. They had to close their doors today, this afternoon, by mid-afternoon. They said that there were just so many people. They only had so many people here working and getting everything done, but they said the center will be open. Regular hours tomorrow are from 9 to 6, and then after tomorrow it's just going to be a wait-and-see situation depending on, and that's how they will regulate their hours for the rest of the week.
All right, Marisa, we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Right.
Well, as we have been saying, federal and state buildings across the area closed for the day today. Courthouses also closed, including the Lycoming County Courthouse here in Williamsport. Officials here are taking no chances. The building evacuated and locked up today. And in Luzerne County, just minutes after the area around this federal courthouse in Wilkes-Barre was secured, an unknown driver pulled in front of the building. Police on high alert took the man out of his car at gunpoint. They searched him for any weapons. And after a few minutes of checking, the man was allowed to continue on his way today. Officers say that he was probably not aware of what was going on when he pulled up to the federal courthouse in Wilkes-Barre. One community in Monroe County may have lost many neighbors in this attack in New York City today. Newswatch 16's Bob Reynolds live in Tobyhanna, where churchgoers are praying that their friends are okay.
Well, Mike, the pastor of St. Anne's Church, or the Church of St. Anne here in Tobyhanna, predicts that dozens of people from the Poconos are probably dead from the terrorist bombing in New York City. That's because each day about 10 busloads of people leave the Poconos, and those folks work in New York City, some in and around the New York World Trade Center.
I just can't imagine what the next few weeks are going to be. I'm thinking about tonight when a wife is sitting in bed at 10 o'clock not knowing where her husband is, or 10 o'clock the next morning when kids are getting out of bed and dad's not there or mom's not there. The next few days when they discover that those people aren't around.
Now, Mass is going to be held tonight here at St. Anne's. A crisis center has also been set up for survivors. Now, some children, according to a police officer that we talked to here today, are probably wondering where mom and dad are right now. Some of those children are probably relatively young. Now, authorities are asking neighbors to call police if they know if that situation exists in their neighborhood. Bob Reynolds, Newswatch 16, reporting live from Tobyhanna.
All right, Bob. Governor Tom Ridge expressing his sorrow over today's attack just hours ago, as seen live here on Newswatch 16. Newswatch 16, Scott Schaefer in the newsroom now with more on what the governor had to say this afternoon. Scott?
Mike, Governor Ridge deplored what he called the, quote, unspeakable, unconscionable, cowardly, incomprehensible incidents today in New York and Virginia, and he called on Pennsylvanians to do their part to help.
I'm going to ask Pennsylvanians to donate blood. There are literally thousands of injured people, particularly in New York City, that we know of. We don't know how great the carnage is in the Pentagon, but we know it's enormous, horrific proportions in New York. I'm going to ask the medical services community in Pennsylvania to establish a volunteer registry. I suspect that the doctors, the nurses, the emergency personnel, even the firefighters may need some relief over the next day or two in New York City. I hope as neighbors and fellow Americans we are prepared to respond that way as well.
And if you'd like to volunteer, we have a phone number for you to call. It is 1-800-424-7362, the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, 1-800-424-7362. You will be asked to verify that you really are a doctor, nurse, firefighter, or emergency management technician. More from Harrisburg later in this newscast if time permits. I'm Scott Schaefer, Newswatch 16, reporting live.
All right, Scott, before you go, also in reference to the crash out near Johnstown today, the governor also sending state police that way?
100 state troopers are on the scene of the crash in Somerset County, Mike, and Governor Ridge, when he made these remarks about 4 o'clock, said that was his next stop as well. He's heading out to Somerset County, and we're all trying to wait and see and hear more information from that incident as well.
All right, Scott, thank you. We'll get back to you. Just unbelievable. Well, air traffic across the country is at a halt right now. It's been shut down through much of the day today. Not a single plane taking off, leaving thousands of passengers stranded nationwide. Newswatch 16's Kyle Schmoyer is live at Wilkes-Barre-Scranton International Airport right now. And Kyle, things are still at a standstill tonight, huh?
Absolutely, Mike. The FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, grounded all planes, like you said, all across the country soon after the 2 attacks this morning. Then, just a little later, the FAA ordered all planes that were in the sky at that time to land at the closest airport ASAP. Now, many of the top-ranking officials here at the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton Airport thought some of those diverted flights would end up here. We didn't see any of those diverted flights here. However, what we did see, many travelers who were stranded and shocked. It was a scene similar to many airports around the country. Travelers here at the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton International Airport wait in lines trying to rearrange travel plans after finding out all planes grounded all around the United States. At the same time, heightened security measures executed at the airport. Outside, local and state police, along with county sheriffs, secure the entrance to the airport.
Stop the truck, sir.
A checkpoint set up, all cars and vans searched. Most flyers understood the circumstances and didn't mind the inconvenience.
I'm shocked. Everybody here is scared to death at this airport. You can go around and talk to anybody because you don't know if it's going to happen on another plane. And then we just got reports in about the Pentagon being on fire. Nobody knows what's going on. Where's it going to happen next?
Other people could only think about the people caught at the center of the attacks.
Terrible. All those people. It's shattering. It's unbelievable.
But many stranded travelers huddled around one small television, glued to the unfolding events.
It's so appalling. I just can't believe it. And even seeing it, you don't believe it. I think it's incredibly tragic. I can't imagine anyone doing such a thing. It's just really sad.
And back live now, a sign of the tragedy in the United States today. As in many places around our viewing area today, the flags flying at half-staff. And as Mike will come around back here, I want to show you over here. State troopers behind me, still here at the airport. They say they will be here. They are still on a higher alert out here at the airport. You go inside, nobody's here. Now, according to the Associated Press, they are reporting that the FAA will have flights starting to resume as of midday tomorrow. Officials here say they see those reports on television. However, high-ranking officials here at the airport say they still don't know, and it is still undetermined when things will start to get back to normal. Kyle Schmore, Newswatch 16, reporting live at the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton International Airport.
I imagine it's a little too early for them to say. Kyle, thank you. Stay there. We'll get back to you this evening sometime. Well, let's head to central Pennsylvania tonight. The Williamsport Regional Airport also closed there. Newswatch 16's Tim Brucker was there today as flights were canceled and travelers were forced to stay put.
A plane sits on the tarmac at Williamsport Regional Airport in Montoursville. It's not going anywhere, and neither are passengers stuck in the terminal.
We have just been informed that all U.S. Airways flights for the rest of the day have been canceled.
I mean, I want it to be okay first. I mean, I'm not annoyed because I'm inconvenienced.
Other stranded passengers felt the same way, especially as they watched television in horror.
Disbelief, shock, both. I've been in these cities, and it's just unreal.
I am concerned it's not over, yes. Yes, especially after the Pentagon.
Randy Reed has other worries. Her daughter takes night classes at New York University. Tears came to her eyes as she wondered what would have happened if the attack was at night.
NYU's campus is not that far away from the World Trade Center. I've been to the campus with her, and she could have been dead.
Instead, Reed believes her daughter is fine. She works in New Jersey during the day. Travel plans were anything but fine. As people called to change their plans, word came that the airport was being closed and evacuated. Calm ruled as workers and hopeful travelers left for home. They wondered if travel will ever be the same.
I've always thought it was pretty safe, but I mean, let's face it, this is terrorism, and I'm not so sure there's any defense against terrorism.
Tim Brucker, Newswatch 16, Montoursville.
Well, people all across our area today doing their part to honor those who have lost their lives or those who were hurt in today's shocking attacks. We found American flags, the symbols of American freedom, flying at half-staff throughout northeast and central Pennsylvania today. This one at the Hampton Inn along Montage Mountain Road in Lackawanna County. Newswatch 16 also found this American flag flying at half-staff at the Perkins Restaurant in Stroudsburg in Monroe County. And in Lycoming County, we found this worker at McDonald's in Loyalsock Township lowering this flag earlier today. People everywhere honoring those involved in today's tragic attack. An outpouring of support today in our area for those hurt in the attacks, both in Washington, D.C. and New York City. Hundreds of people lining up to donate blood. A huge turnout here at the American Red Cross in Hanover Township in Luzerne County. We found volunteers, many of whom were airline workers from the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton International Airport, setting up additional donor tables. One woman we talked with today said this American tragedy hit home for her.
Kind of hit home to me today because my father works in the World Trade Center. He was on the 100th floor, and the plane hit the 70th floor, but he got out okay. So I'm happy about that.
And workers here were getting another room ready for a large crowd waiting to give blood. And as we heard from Marisa Burke earlier this evening, people also lining up outside the American Red Cross along Meadow Avenue in Scranton. Volunteers are urging all those who are able to donate blood. Officials are asking you to call their toll-free number to make an appointment for a donation. There's the number at the bottom of your screen. It's 1-800-GIVE-LIFE. Well, security is tight, as you would imagine, at the Toby Hanna Army Depot in Monroe County today. The facility works on communications equipment for the U.S. military. Newswatch 16's Danielle Sleesher joining us from the newsroom with more on that. Danielle?
Mike, the concern at the Toby Hanna Army Depot, security. More than 3,000 civilians work there, and it's also home to military personnel. Immediately after the attack, the place shut its gates.
Okay, nobody's coming in today. Okay, make a U-turn and go back out.
An armed guard turns cars away at the Toby Hanna Army Depot gate. Only those who work here and can prove that show their badges and can go through. This man, a World War II veteran, showed up at about 10 a.m.
Down, I was halfway down here before till then. I heard they would bomb the state building, the Pentagon. I didn't know this was going to be closed.
Behind the gate, heightened security and increased patrols. Workers told to look for suspicious activity. At noon, Tobyhanna's commander sent much of the workforce home and canceled second and third shifts.
Obviously, it's a very sad and tragic day, and we're tracking events as they occur.
And Tobyhanna has activated its Emergency Operations Center. That's what tracks the nation's need for equipment that Tobyhanna can supply. So far, no personnel or equipment from Tobyhanna has been needed, and so far, no word if workers should report to work tomorrow. We'll keep you posted on that. I'm Danielle Sleesher, Newswatch 16, reporting from the newsroom.
Yeah, let us know if you get word from them tonight. Thank you, Danielle. Joining me now is Newswatch 16 Scott Schaefer. And Scott, a tragic day like this prompting a lot of phone calls and emails about how people feel, and they're angry, basically, aren't they?
Plenty of them, Mike. In fact, the phone calls and emails have been coming in fast and furiously since just after 9 a.m. What we are hearing is a combination of anger, outrage, and shock on tonight's Talkback 16.
The intelligence agencies in our country should all be fired. They let the American people down and the country. They should have been on the alert, and they weren't.
This is what happens when a country punks down to a guy like Bin Laden and Hussein and the rest of these guys. This we got because not that we deserve it, but because we don't have the courage to stand up to these miserable, low-life so-and-sos.
But these people that's doing this here, they believe if it's a religious thing, they're going to go to Allah. What this country ought to do is send a whole pile of them to Allah.
And from Talkback 16 online, Brian C. writes, it's time for us to put aside the differences that divide. I apologize for that. We'll go to another message from Talkback 16 online. If it weren't for us buying oil off countries in the Middle East or giving food to the nations in Africa and elsewhere, those countries who harbor these terrorists, the so-called messengers of God, would be nothing. I say take away the hand that feeds them, cut off the planet, and see how quickly it drops to its knees. I don't know about anyone else, but my country was attacked, and I am prepared. Are you? Another one from Talkback Online. Enough is enough. It is time the U.S. declares war on all terrorists worldwide. When will we do something serious about terrorism, or is our government just going to sit back and continue watching things happen and not dare step on any toes? The hell with it. It's time to fight back.
All right, welcome back. We're going to go to our newsroom right now. Newswatch 16, Scott Schaefer standing by. Scott, earlier we saw PennDOT signs flashing along Interstate 81 warning motorists that all roads into New York City were closed today for obvious reasons. Now you have new information about an interstate leading into New York?
An interstate leading into New Jersey as well, Mike. Interstate 80, the Delaware Water Gap Bridge on Interstate 80 that takes motorists into the Stroudsburg area and over into western New Jersey. That bridge is closed right now for security reasons. Again, the Interstate 80 bridge at Delaware Water Gap is closed for security reasons. You can't get across the Delaware River at Delaware Water Gap on Interstate 80 right now. Earlier this afternoon, Interstate 80 itself in eastern New Jersey was closed. You were not allowed to drive into the New York City area. Now, in fact, the bridge at Delaware Water Gap has been closed as well, and we'll bring you more updated information as it becomes available.
All right, get back to us. Thank you, Scott. Parents responding to all this today, some of them by pulling their children out of school early today. Just some scared, others because they have relatives in New York City that they could not reach. Newswatch 16's Tina Tenray visited McNichols Plaza Elementary School in Scranton today around lunchtime.
This little girl's father works in the World Trade Center. They haven't heard from him.
Mommy, is Daddy all right? My daddy's there with my brother.
Do you mind grabbing her? This woman's too upset to talk. Her brother works in the World Trade Towers. When she tried to call his office and his home, only clicks. She tells her son they're going home to pray.
The airplane that went down in Pittsburgh is near where my brother-in-law is. And if anything is going to happen, I want my kids with me.
As parents take their children home, this teacher wishes she could do the same.
Like any mother, I'd like my son to be home.
Margie McGinnis emails her son at college in New York City. She cannot reach him by phone.
He's 18. You know how that you would feel with that. He's never been away from home for any length of time, and it's just a very high moment of anxiety for us.
Scranton superintendent tells me he considered dismissing all schools early. But then he says he might be letting kids go home to empty houses. Tina Tenray, Newswatch 16, Scranton.
And at 5:32 this evening, a reminder you are watching special coverage from Newswatch 16 of America Under Attack. Our coverage lasting here locally until 6:30 tonight. World News tonight at 6:30 to 7. Many people around the area and across the country reacting the best way they know how, that being prayer. Newswatch 16's Tim Brucker is outside a church in Williamsport tonight. He now joins us live with word of a prayer vigil there. Tim?
Mike, I'm outside the First United Methodist Church in Williamsport. It's located right off of Market Street here in downtown Williamsport. And in just about an hour, they're going to have an organized prayer service here. It was organized by the United Churches of Lycoming County, which includes many pastors from across the county. They will come together here inside that church and offer prayers for an hour and a half until 9 o'clock this evening. It is clear that the violence is on the minds of everyone in this area. Work continues on an expansion of Williamsport's First United Methodist Church. It's almost like a tonic.
Just keep working, keep your mind on your work, which we cannot feel in any given way.
Listening to Peter Jennings talking about today's
deal with it later.
And trying to strengthen security around the United States.
It is blaring from the radio. News of terrorism. Hijacked planes crashing in New York, Washington, D.C., and yes, Pennsylvania.
Sad day. Worst thing could ever happen in this country.
The work continues, but the workers often pause to listen.
Everybody was in shock about it. They couldn't believe it happened, and then especially when the trade centers fell.
Just trying to find out what's going on with the whole thing. Not really sure what to think of it.
Inside, people aren't thinking, they're praying. The doors of the church were opened at noon so people could come and pray. There are flyers to encourage words of hope, which is what Elaine Rockoff is trying to find. Tears flowed as she arrived to pick up her daughter from preschool. A member of her distant family works near the World Trade Center in New York.
We initially heard from him right after the first plane hit the World Trade Center, but we haven't heard from him since.
I talked to Elaine Rockoff later today, and in fact her relative was able to get out of that immediate area, and he is okay. But it is stories like that, stories that show the impact of this beyond just New York to the rest of the country and to our local area, that explains why they expect a lot of people to come to this church at 6:30 tonight for a prayer service. Again, that service will last from 6:30 until 9 o'clock, and people are welcome to come at any time during that to say their prayers of hope. Tim Brucker, Newswatch 16, reporting live from Williamsport.
All right, Tim, thank you. Well, thousands of people in the Poconos work in New York City, as we mentioned earlier today. Dozens of churches throwing open their doors. Newswatch 16's Danielle Sleesher has their prayer for peace this evening.
The sign outside the Mount Pocono United Methodist Church, "We are open for peace and prayer." The sign on the doors of the First Presbyterian Church in Stroudsburg also invites prayer inside.
I mean, the emptiness of the sanctuary really mirrored the emptiness in my own heart. I feel there's no solace. I don't feel any comfort. It's too soon. I just feel shock.
Cindy Crowner of Stroudsburg found herself alone in prayer, in tears.
And I thought, well, I'll come because I just need a moment to figure out what does all this mean and what's going on and where is God in all of this.
Associate Pastor Carol Brown explains that many church members work in New York City.
And we don't really know how many are involved. And a lot of the families are not together and won't be together. And so it provides a place where they can seek refuge and comfort and hope in God's promises to be with them.
The church will host a prayer service at 7 o'clock. Danielle Sleesher, Newswatch 16, Stroudsburg.
Well, we are all searching for ways to cope or simply understand what happened today. You saw people praying in churches, others just spending time with family or friends. Newswatch 16's Marisa Burke, my partner, live from Scranton tonight. Marisa, people dealing with this many ways today.
Oh, they certainly are, Mike. You talked about the prayer services going on in the area. We know that at the Byron Center on the campus of the University of Scranton, there is a service going on right now. And we understand that about a third a third of the student population at the University of Scranton is from the New York City tri-state area, so there is a lot of emotions going on in the campus of the University of Scranton today. Once again, we are live here from the Red Cross Donation Center here along Meadow Avenue in Scranton, where just a few moments ago 5 Marywood University students showed up here hoping to donate some blood. 3 of them are from the tri-state area, and one of them has a father who is a bus driver in the New York City area. She just told me that he was 2 blocks away from the World Trade Center this morning when the attacks happened. Take a look at this.
He came out of the Lincoln Tunnel and saw people running in front of the cars and stuff. And he was 2 blocks away when the second plane hit.
When did you get a hold of him today?
He got cell phone reception about 11:30 this morning. I spoke to him at about 4:30.
What did you say?
I just asked him if he was okay, and he was kind of shaken up about it. And he doesn't know if he'll be back home in Staten Island tonight. They were sending out city buses out to the streets to see if the streets were okay.
What did he say it was like in the city?
He was on the roof of a building, and he said it was just black smoke and just mass hysteria. Just like, it was like at the scene of a movie, he said. Just people running around.
Are you guys here all to donate blood, or
yeah,
that's why you're here? Well, why? Why?
Well, just because, first of all, we're nursing students, so we're in the medical field, and it just to see all this happen to all these people, we just want to help.
That Marywood University junior is certainly relieved that her father is okay. The other Marywood University students, again, showing up here at the Red Cross Donation Center here along Meadow Avenue looking to donate the blood. They are all nursing students. They are all juniors, so they certainly understand the need for blood in an emergency situation like this. Once again, Mike, we want to mention that the American Red Cross here, they want to get the word out that they will be open again tomorrow, regular hours from 9 to 6 for anybody who wants to come by and donate blood in the midst of this tragedy going on. They are definitely overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed today. We mentioned earlier in the special report that there were 120 people who showed up at this donation center today. There were lines out the door. A normal day is about 25 people donating. So just to give you a perspective on that.
It's heartening to see that kind of response from those college students today, Marisa.
It certainly is, and we mentioned that we've got to keep this in mind, that there are a lot of students here at Marywood University, at the University of Scranton. They are from the New York area, the northern New Jersey area. They have family, they have loved ones. They have been trying desperately all day long to get on the phone with family members. Many of them have reached their family, their loved ones. They are relieved tonight. There are certainly some out there, though, tonight that they have not been able to get through.
Well, the front page of the Scranton Times will not help today. This is just out. We just got this. As you can see, terrorists strike New York City, Washington, about as close to a war headline as you can possibly get. Incredible. Well, parents are faced with explaining this tragedy to their children today, and many of them wondering about the best way to do it. Our newsroom right now is Jan Hess. Jan is a mental health counselor at Scranton Counseling Center. And Jan, I know some parents today actually called the schools with their youngsters, telling teachers not to allow their children to watch this coverage on TV today. Is that good counsel or not?
Well, Mike, today was a very devastating day for all Americans. And all of us today wanted as much information as we could get. My guess is that by tomorrow, the regular school routine will be much more in evidence, and parents won't be quite so concerned about that.
So what should parents tell their children about all this, Jan?
Well, there are a couple of ways that parents can help kids cope. The first would be to provide an environment where kids can talk about their thoughts, their ideas, and their feelings about what's going on. Keep an open line of communication with your kids. Another idea is to provide a regular routine. Children find comfort in their regular daily activities. And another idea would be to provide extra comfort, hugs, and reassurance to kids, letting them know that what happened in New York and Pennsylvania and Washington today is not likely to happen to them.
Well, let's talk about the adults for a minute. What about adults? I mean, the emotional reaction from being stunned to disbelief to grief today.
Mike, many families in our area know people, relatives or friends that live and work in the New York area as well as Washington, D.C. And so this has hit home in a very personal way. And like our children, we benefit from the support of our families and our friends during this time. And that's why all of us saw people scrambling to make phone contact with those we care about today. Certainly, adults also receive comfort from their religious and spiritual beliefs.
In a time of crisis, family probably about the best answer. All right, Jan, thank you. Jan Hess, who is a mental health counselor at Scranton Counseling Center, for being with us tonight. Well, the reaction at Wilkes University among students there who watched the coverage live, as you can imagine, shock and disbelief there today. Newswatch 16's Fred Lettieri sat with them at their amazement, and it finally turned to anger among the students today.
Students at Wilkes University watch history unfold in front of them.
This is huge. This is huge.
They're riveted to a small TV on the Wilkes-Barre campus. Many cannot believe that something so unheard of happened so close to home. They struggle to find the right words to describe their feelings.
It's just hard. I mean, just unbelievable. It could happen anywhere, and I can't believe that this is going on. You know, I can't imagine what terror has happened in New York City and people who are killed.
I just hope that somebody pays for this, that's all. I want a zero tolerance toward terrorism. It's ridiculous, basically. This shouldn't happen.
As the crowd grew, so did reports of more attacks. People stare in disbelief as the first of the World Trade Center's 2 towers collapsed. The university provided counselors for people wanting to talk about what happened.
My father works in Manhattan for advertising. I'm not 100% sure where the location from the World Trade Center is, but hopefully he's getting out of the city.
A few hours after its start, anger grips many in this room. They wonder who will be held responsible for shedding American blood.
We were violated, and this is absurd. This shouldn't happen. I don't know. I have a lot of things to say, but I probably shouldn't go on the camera, but this is ridiculous. You know, you're not even safe in your own country.
Emotions figure to run high again. Some believe they will find out they knew someone who died in the violence. Fred Lettieri, Newswatch 16, Wilkes-Barre.
Well, anyone near a television stopped in their tracks as the attack began today. Hard to believe what we were seeing. We head back to Newswatch 16's Tim Brucker live in Williamsport tonight. And Tim, you had quite a crowd at the Central Pennsylvania newsroom today when all this was happening.
No kidding, Mike. If you've ever been out to our Central Pennsylvania Bureau in the Lycoming Mall, you know it kind of offers a large bay window that looks into the newsroom. Outside are television screens where you can watch the news. And every day we see people gather around that TV. Today, certainly more than is normal. And it's a good place to gauge the impact that something like this is having on everyday Americans.
Who's coming from the north down over Manhattan itself.
Like Americans across the country, they gathered around the television. Outside the Newswatch 16 offices at the Lycoming Mall, the looks spoke for themselves. Shock, disbelief.
The problem is that you're subject to terrorism at any time, and there's no way to control that or prevent that from happening.
We found out just how right he was a few minutes later. We were talking to these women when word of the Pentagon explosion was reported.
Oh my gosh.
Our Pentagon correspondent, who's there this morning, has been.
That was pretty much the standard reaction.
It's just mind-boggling. It just, you feel frightened almost. You think we live in this country that's so wonderful, and it is wonderful. But that things like this that we have no control over do happen.
No control and no explanation.
We try to be the big brother to everybody. A lot of people resent it.
For example, planes are still landing. But
I don't know what the major cause of it is. I really don't.
I mean that flight and security is important now.
As the plane crashes multiplied from 2 to 4, America and Lycoming County paused and began mourning.
I'm really upset about it. I just can't believe this happened. I can't believe it. It's turning my stomach. I mean, I can't believe somebody would do something like this.
That mourning will continue here in Williamsport at the First United Methodist Church right behind me. It's located right off of Market Street on Packer. People will be gathering here beginning at 6:30 for a prayer service that is to last until 9 o'clock. There will be pastors from across the county here saying words of prayer, words of hope, and hopefully words that will help people understand exactly the tragedy that happened today. Tim Brucker, Newswatch 16, reporting live from Williamsport.
Tim, I thought it was interesting in talking to people who had lived through World War II, equating this to basically a Pearl Harbor, the second Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, people, I think as you went through the day, in the beginning of the day, people were shocked and kind of in disbelief. As the day got longer, people started to get pretty angry, and you can hear almost the people's building attention toward who did this and how we're going to deal with the people who did this. And, you know, having clearly not lived through that time period, I think this day, like that, will live in infamy, Mike.
Tim, thanks. We'll get back to you and more on that prayer vigil that's being held there tonight also. Business brought to a halt in Lackawanna County today when the attack started. Newswatch 16's Tina Tenray talking with people who huddled around the television there during one of America's darkest days.
Just watch people react at the Northeast Fitness Center in Moosic.
Absolutely terrified. What's next? I can't imagine how they could get to the Pentagon without someone detecting it. With all the advances in technology, I can't imagine how it could get that far without radar detection.
My son is an accountant out by Greenwich Village. He's a CPA in New York City. So, like, right now you probably can't even get through the phone lines. But you don't know if the city's going to be under attack. Okay, so you just have to wait, really. You know, but it's scary.
Joe Vidota has been here since the first report.
I think it's a terrible shame for this country, for all the poor people that's probably involved in this thing right now. At the present time, my heart goes out to each and every one of their families.
But even in places where people don't usually watch TV, we found them glued to the set.
Believing and confirming that we have 2 terrorist attacks.
I had to come in here and do some shopping, and then I decided I'd stop for a few minutes and see if there was any updates on what happened.
Robert Smith at a Kmart in Moosic.
What do I think hearing it? I think that we're going to be very vulnerable all over the country for this kind of activity.
Louis Valvano of Scranton wants harsh punishment for the masterminds.
As long as we get away with it. Everybody gets away with it, send the bombs over there wherever they're at. Whoever done that. Don't wait, don't try or nothing. Just that simple.
No doubt a sentiment shared by many watching these attacks. Tina Tenray, Newswatch 16, Moosic.
In just a few minutes here on Newswatch 16, we are going to talk live with Congressman Don Sherwood from the 10th District. From what we understand, he had a security briefing at 5 o'clock. We'll bring that to you momentarily. But first, this attack today impacting almost every facet of our lives today. That includes sporting events, some delayed. We want to bring you up to date on those tonight. Newswatch 16's Jim Cole standing by live with the very latest on that. Jim?
Well, Mike, for the first time since 1945, Major League Baseball has scrapped all of its games. Now, other than a labor strife for bad weather, this hasn't happened since 1945 when Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the President of the United States, passed away. It's affecting us on a local level, of course. We have high school football to tell you about in a second, but also minor league baseball. The Red Barons, of course, in the International League playoffs. Don't know about the cross-cutter situation. They're playing in the New York Penn League playoffs. Still waiting to see what's going to happen there. As far as the Red Barons, we caught up to Mike Cummings of the Red Barons. Here's what he had to say.
I mean, first of all, Jim, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. It's really not about baseball at this point. Tonight's game has been postponed in Louisville, and as of right now, it's postponed until tomorrow at 6:15. That could change tomorrow, and really everything's backed up one day. We won't start, if it does come back here, until Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but again, that could change as the events develop. And actually, every minor league baseball game in the country has been canceled. It's not just our league, so it's really a day-by-day situation at the moment.
Also up in the air is high school football for this weekend. Jerry Prosciutti is the vice president of the Eastern Pennsylvania Interscholastic Football Conference.
I'm sure there's going to be some discussion. Everything happened so quick today, but
I'm sure we'll get some calls tonight and tomorrow in terms of reflecting on what's going to happen this weekend. I think a lot of it's going to have to do with the leadership of the country. In fact, there's just coming in. I just heard one of the commentators, one of our senators state that the Capitol will be open tomorrow, and we're not going to give in to the terrorists, and they're not going to shut down the Capitol. So I think that's the posture that a lot of the people in politics will take, and if that's the case, then I think that you'll see that hopefully things will go on to try to regain some normalcy over the future here.
One more note, the Penn State football game, Penn State at Virginia Thursday night. That game has been postponed. No word yet on whether that game will be made up, if it can be made up. But the Nittany Lions in Virginia will not be playing on Thursday night, Mike. So, of course, the sporting world all taking a bow with everything going on in New York City and Washington. And we'll keep you updated on what happens with our teams if and when they're going to play again.
Okay, Jim, thanks for joining us tonight. As we mentioned, we are talking with Congressman Don Sherwood from the 10th District. Congressman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you had a security briefing at 5 o'clock today. What can you tell us?
Well, the result of that is we'll have a big press conference on the East Capitol steps tonight at 7:30, and the leadership of the Congress will tell the country how we're going to react, and business as usual will be open. We'll be open. The Capitol will resume tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. But the message, I'm sure, that will be given out tonight at 7:30 should be that our hearts and prayers are with all the Americans that were killed and injured and their families, and we must find who is responsible and hold them accountable so that this can't happen again.
Is this wartime status for the U.S. government right now?
Yes, it is. And it should be, because we've had an attack on our homeland, an attack that's unprecedented since Pearl Harbor, and they were very clever in the way they did it, and it's hard in a free society to have the freedoms that we enjoy and yet have the kind of security that we're going to need in this terrorist world. But we've got to let the terrorists know that their game is over. We'll root them out and eliminate them.
Congressman, the president in Nebraska today and other members of the cabinet scattered across the area. Is there a strategy in that?
Of course there's a strategy in that. They don't want us all to be a target. And so until they could get control of the skies, they've spread the congressional leadership and the president out across the country. But now that they're sure of the airspace over Washington, you'll see everyone coming back to Washington so the government can be continuing to do its business.
Have you watched the coverage today on television? I'm sure you have. What was your reaction, like the rest of us?
Well, we were horrified at the damage in New York. You know, we all watched that second plane hit the tower, and they tried to take out the World Trade Towers 10 or 12 years ago, and unfortunately they succeeded this time. You know, a 747 loaded with fuel is a terrible weapon if the person flying it is willing to die also. And we've just got to control our airspace so that this can't happen again.
Congressman, based on what you were told during this briefing, the security briefing at 5 o'clock today, is this over today? Are the attacks over?
We think so, but no one can be absolutely positively sure. But the element of surprise is over, and we think we have control of our airspace.
What are you asking Pennsylvanians to do at this point? Anything aside from donate blood, which we've been lining up at the door to do that today?
We'd like them to donate blood. We'd like them to fly the flag, and I'd like them to reflect on what it means to live in a country like the U.S. and understand we're going to have to make some sacrifices to make sure that we can continue to live in a free society.
What are your colleagues saying tonight? Is retaliation on the minds of lawmakers tonight, or not?
Of course retaliation is on our mind, and it has to be swift and sure and with overwhelming force. But, of course, we have to determine where to hit. You know, we don't know yet for sure where these terrorist attacks came from, and that has to be sorted out.
The question a lot of us were asking is, how in the world could anybody get access to the Pentagon building? Were you surprised by that today?
Well, to fly a plane into it, you know, you have to remember that National Airport is less than 4 miles from the Pentagon, and planes take off and land there every day. Now, you know, it's sobering to think they could run into the World Trade Center, that they could run into the Pentagon. We want to remember that there were 1 or 2 planes that they had hijacked today that didn't hit their targets, but 3 did.
Can you tell us anything about what the U.S. military is doing tonight? I know that we're on the highest state of alert possible.
We have 6 fighter jets scrambling over the city right now, and the fleet is steaming for New York Harbor, so they'll have aircraft cover. The U.S. military is on its highest state of alert as we speak.
Congressman Don Sherwood from Washington, D.C. of the 10th District, we thank you for being with us. And if you will, go ahead and give our folks a number where we can get back in touch with you within the next half hour. We'll check back if we can, Congressman. Thank you for being with us tonight.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
All right. Well, we heard of Governor Tom Ridge's reaction today earlier to this national tragedy. Tonight we're going to head back to Newswatch 16. Scott Schaefer in the newsroom with more. Scott, we just heard from the congressman who had plenty to say about all this today. Let's recap what the governor is telling Pennsylvanians tonight.
Governor Ridge had plenty to say too, Mike. He called this a sad and tragic day for the entire country, one that will still have a profound impact 50 to 100 years from now. And he is asking Pennsylvanians to do their part to help all the victims in New York and Virginia.
But I also hope that the annals record that Pennsylvania was up to the task, that we were prepared and did everything we could within our own state, but also that we provided blood and we got that heavy equipment and we've sent volunteers to our neighbors in distress and in need, so that those who write the history say that Pennsylvania was involved in rebuilding these to the extent it could, and bringing some hope and trying to help rebuild these cities and lives of these people who have been so horribly affected.
Emotion that many of us feel tonight. The governor activated Pennsylvania's Emergency Management Agency at 9:30 this morning. Security has been heightened at the state's government buildings, military installations, and nuclear sites. Mike, we also want to bring you up to date on something we reported earlier in this newscast. The bridge over the Delaware Water Gap on Interstate 80 has been reopened. That bridge was closed for a time earlier this afternoon because of security concerns. Interstate 80 at the Delaware Water Gap Bridge, you now can get in and out of New Jersey on that bridge. However, Interstate 80 farther to the east, closer to New York City, is closed, not allowing any traffic into the New York City metropolitan area tonight on I-80. Mike, back to you.
All right, Scott, thank you. Reminder, in case you're just joining us at 5:59 here tonight, this is Newswatch 16 special coverage of America Under Attack. We're continuing our local coverage through 6:30. At 6:30, we'll bring you world news tonight. Well, things were brought to a screeching halt in some parts of our area today. Newswatch 16's Marisa Burke spending time in Scranton, and she joins us live with more on that. Nobody taking any chances today, Marisa?
Oh, absolutely not, Mike. We were in the city of Scranton this morning when office buildings, courthouses, and state office buildings actually locked down after the attacks in both New York and Washington this morning. Here's what we experienced. Approximately 20 minutes to 11, the William Nealon Federal Building and Courthouse in downtown Scranton ordered to close immediately. 200 workers file out of the building.
We got notice from the chief judge that he's closing the building. So that's what they're telling us.
Federal marshals post no parking signs around the building. Barricades are placed in the street, and yellow tape is strung around the building on North Washington Avenue. The building is officially off limits. This attorney had just wrapped up some legal work.
We finished it, and then we were asked to leave the building.
Who told you to leave?
One of the marshals.
Did they tell you why?
I'm assuming that all federal buildings are closed down.
As the federal building lets out, we find 2 women overcome with emotion. Moments later, word that the state office building on Lackawanna Avenue ordered to shut down. The Lackawanna County Courthouse closed as well. 2 Scranton police officers are suddenly stationed at the front and rear entrances to City Hall to increase security. After word that another hijacked plane goes down in a rural area near Pittsburgh, Emergency operation centers in every county across the state are activated, including here in Lackawanna.
We're bringing all our people in that we would normally need to handle any type of major disaster. So for us it means bringing in communications people, fire, EMS, rescue, hospitals, Red Cross, National Guard, state police, you know, all those folks that we might need to have available.
Points that could be subject of a terrorist attack. We don't know. We don't know where it could happen. It could happen here in this city. We don't know, but we want to be prepared for it.
Outside the county annex building, barricades go up as well. And then we see this county worker visibly shaken on a cell phone. A friend tells us the woman was desperately trying to find out if her niece was one of the flight attendants aboard one of the hijacked planes. In another part of the city, Community Medical Center is also put on alert in the event that any victims from New York are transported to the hospital's trauma center. Tension, fear of the unknown all over the city, and grief. By early afternoon in another part of Lackawanna County, flags already flying at half-staff. And Mike, you heard Congressman Don Sherwood say a few moments ago he is encouraging many people to fly the flag. And you see the flag there at the Penn Star Bank branch here along Meadow Avenue in Scranton. That too is flying tonight. It is flying, of course, at half-staff. Mike, back to you.
Let's talk about giving blood again, Marisa. You were talking earlier about the Red Cross still in need. They're closed for this evening where you are, though, right?
The donation center here along Meadow Avenue in Scranton, they had just an unbelievable day here today. 120 people showing up. There were lines out the door. A typical normal Tuesday would be just around 25 people donating blood. They had to actually stop taking donations by mid-afternoon. They just didn't have enough people to do all the work here, but they said that they will open the doors tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. They will stay open until 6 o'clock, regular hours, for people wanting to donate blood in the midst of this national tragedy.
All right, my partner, Marisa Burke, thank you. Live from Scranton tonight. Air travel across the country is stopped. It's at a halt tonight. Not a single plane is taking off, leaving thousands of passengers stranded. Newswatch 16's Kyle Schmoyer is live at Wilkes-Barre Scranton International Airport tonight. And Kyle, we talked earlier about the FAA making some sort of decision when to open the airport tomorrow. Any word on that now?
Well, Mike, we are still just hearing those rumors that the FAA, the Associated Press is reporting this, however, that the FAA has decided that it won't be until noon tomorrow that things get back to normal at airports around the country. As you can see, this one here, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Airport, no different. One lone state trooper sitting outside the airport here. There is no activity here at this airport right now. Everybody has gone home. Passengers have gotten the word that planes will not be flying, and we're hearing not flying at least till midday tomorrow. And as you know, at that point, because of our air traffic system, it's going to take a long time till things get back to normal. We were here this morning when people started to get the word about the two attacks, and also that all flights were going to be grounded. Let's take a look at that. It was a scene similar to many airports around the country. Travelers here at the Wilkes-Barre Scranton International Airport wait in lines, trying to rearrange travel plans after finding out all planes grounded all around the United States. At the same time, heightened security measures executed at the airport. Outside, local and state police, along with county sheriffs, secure the entrance to the airport.
Pop the trunk, sir.
A checkpoint set up, all cars and vans searched. Most flyers understood the circumstances and didn't mind the inconvenience.
I'm shocked. You know, everybody here is scared to death at this airport. You can go around and talk to anybody because you don't know if it's going to happen on another plane. And then we just got reports in about the Pentagon being on fire. Nobody knows what's going on. Where's it going to happen next?
Other people could only think about the people caught at the center of the attacks.
Terrible. All those people, it's shattering. It's unbelievable.
But many stranded travelers huddled around one small television, glued to the unfolding events.
It's so appalling. I just can't believe it. And even seeing it, you don't believe it. I think it's incredibly tragic. I can't imagine anyone doing such a thing. It's just really sad.
Mike, it's those types of sentiments that we heard from people all day. The two travelers in that story, the two words that they said, really so sad and unbelievable. That's the same thing we heard over and over here at the airport as all the events were unfolding earlier this morning. And I have to tell you this, here at the airport, we not only saw people local from our area here, we also ran into people from all over the country, people that were either visiting here or here on business. So we got a little sense of what people are thinking, not only here, but far away from here. And the thing that one person said to me is that all those people on those flights, all they were trying to do was either get from one place to another for business or for pleasure. As for the people in the World Trade Center, all they were trying to do was go to work like you or me. Kyle Schmoyer, Newswatch 16, reporting live from the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton International Airport.
All right, Kyle, thank you. Let's check in with Newswatch 16 Scott Schaefer in our newsroom right now. From what I understand, he's talking live with the congressman from the 6th District tonight. Scott?
Congressman Tim Holden, the Democrat from the 6th District, representing the Schuylkill County, Berks County areas, Pottsville, Reading. Congressman Holden's on the phone with us right now. Congressman, do you hear us all right?
Yes.
All right, thanks for joining us. You are in Washington. Set the scene for us there. What is going on now, and where were you when the plane hit the Pentagon?
Okay, we've all been evacuated from the Capitol House office building. When the planes hit the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, I was with about 19 other congressmen in the House gym beneath the Rayburn building, working out before we had to start our day in the Congress, and it was just total shock and disbelief when we heard about the World Trade Center, and then, of course, a few minutes later we hear about the Pentagon terroristic attack, and then we were all evacuated from the House office buildings.
Congressman, we have unconfirmed reports right now that there are explosions in Afghanistan, and I'm wondering if you know what's going on. Is America retaliating as we speak?
Well, I do not know for sure, but I'm watching CNN and seeing the same reports that you were hearing about. We had a conference call about an hour ago with Speaker Hassard and Leader Gephardt, and we were told at that time that we are still in the process of gathering intelligence to find out who the responsible parties are. We believe it to be the Bin Laden organization, but that has not been confirmed. But there was a true sentiment with all members of Congress that we need to respond swiftly and with great force when we determine who the responsible party is with these terrible terroristic attacks. And it does appear that there has been some retaliation or some explosions in Afghanistan right now.
So if we did determine that Bin Laden was behind this, Afghanistan would be the place that we would go after him?
Absolutely. It's hard for us as Americans to fathom people that have no regard for human life that would hijack aircraft and crash them into skyscrapers or blow up car bombs. But that's what we're dealing with in this new century, and we have to send out a clear message that we are not going to take this lightly, and we're going to retaliate.
Safe to say then, sir, you favor immediate retaliation by America?
I think based on other members of Congress that I've had conversations with, that you'll see unanimous support for the President.
Congressman Holden, did you yourself ever feel that you or other members of Congress were in danger today?
No, I did not. I mean, we were evacuated, and then we heard the rumors that have not been, proven to be accurate. That there was a plane that was down, of course, in western Pennsylvania that was headed for the Capitol or for Camp David. That was not confirmed. They were just rumors that were out there.
Congressman, what do you have to say to your constituents in the 6th Congressional District tonight? What should they be doing? What should they be thinking?
Well, obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to those innocent victims. I mean, it appears that there's the possibility of over 10,000 fatalities. I mean, that's 5 times the amount of people that were killed at Pearl Harbor. So, I think that our thoughts and prayers should be with the victims, and know that our security is at work, that we are gathering the intelligence, and we are going to find the people who are responsible, and we're going to punish them.
Congressman Tim Holden, Democrat from the 6th Congressional District, thanks very much for being available to us on this very sad and tragic day in American history.
Thank you.
Mike, we'll send it back to you.
And as you heard his colleagues say earlier here live on Newswatch 16, Don Sherwood, he considers this to be wartime status in the United States, at least among the government right now. Well, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Tom Clark tonight. And Tom, I understand that you had a family member who escaped these explosions today.
Yes, Mike, I did. Just spoke to my parents who live outside of Philadelphia, and they informed me that I had a cousin who was in the tower that was hit by the first plane, and his name is Grant Clark. And he was in the process of escaping that building when apparently he heard the second plane hit Tower 2, which was next door. And at that point, he ran down 50 flights of stairs. Now, he was a champion swimmer at Westchester State, so he ran down 50 flights of stairs and got out of the building safe, without any harm. He looked back, and sure enough, he saw that building collapse, the one that he just ran out of. So 50 flights of stairs at full speed to get out safely from that building that was hit by the first plane, Mike.
I would say there's some divine intervention in that time.
Yes, I'm very thankful.
Thanks for sharing the story with us. In Monroe County tonight, we found commuters who actually witnessed the attack in New York City today while riding a bus into the city. Newswatch 16's Linda Skolsky has their story.
People wait anxiously for loved ones outside the Marks bus station near Delaware Water Gap.
I'm waiting for my wife to see, what's going on with that. She took an earlier bus.
Just as the second plane hit the World Trade Center, a number of buses from the Poconos were approaching the Lincoln Tunnel. It's the entrance to New York City.
The approach to the helix at the Lincoln Tunnel, we could see the World Trade Center smoking. It was like a scene out of a movie. Just unbelievable.
Woke up to look, and I just saw a plane. I thought it was just flying low around the towers, and it just went straight into the tower. And as it went into it, you could see the backside of the building exploded.
Immediately following the second explosion, commuters describe a frantic situation inside the buses.
As we got closer to almost like the mouth of the Lincoln Tunnel, we asked the bus driver, please don't go to the tunnel, stop the buses.
Several buses were stopped and diverted back to the Poconos. The first thing most people did when they got off these buses was call their family members to let them know they were okay. Linda Skolsky, Newswatch 16, Monroe County.
Well, many people in our area and across the country are reacting the best way they know how tonight, that being with prayer. Newswatch 16's Tim Brucker is outside a church in Williamsport tonight. He joins us now live with more on the word of a prayer vigil being held there tonight. Tim?
Yeah, I'm outside the First United Methodist Church of Williamsport. It's located on the corners of Market and Packer Street in Williamsport. And at 6:30 tonight, people are going to gather here as pastors from all over the county who are representing the United Churches of Lycoming County will come and say words of faith. It was pretty clear at this church earlier today that pretty much everyone was thinking about what was going on in New York and Washington, D.C. Work continues on an expansion of Williamsport's First United Methodist Church. It's almost like a tonic.
Just keep working, keep your mind on your work, which we cannot feel in any given way.
Listening to Peter Jennings talking about today's
deal with it later.
And try to strengthen security around the United States.
It is blaring from the radio, news of terrorism, hijacked planes crashing in New York, Washington, D.C., and yes, Pennsylvania.
Sad day. Worst thing could ever happen in this country.
The work continues, but the workers often pause to listen.
Everybody was in shock about it. They couldn't believe it happened, and then especially when the Trade Centers fell.
Just trying to find out what's going on with the whole thing. Not really sure what to think of it.
Inside, people aren't thinking, they're praying. The doors of the church were opened at noon so people could come and pray. There are flyers to encourage words of hope, which is what Elaine Rockoff is trying to find. Tears flowed as she arrived to pick up her daughter from preschool. A member of her distant family works near the World Trade Center in New York.
We initially heard from him right after the first plane hit the World Trade Center, but we haven't heard from him since.
Talk to Elaine Rockoff later today. They have heard from that relative, and he is okay in New York, but those stories will be repeated certainly throughout the day of people who had relatives or friends in that immediate area, and that's why so many people are expected to gather here for this prayer service, not only for people that they know, but for people that they don't know, but they care very much about. Tim Brucker, Newswatch 16, reporting live from Williamsport.
All right, Tim, tell us again, what time is the vigil tonight?
It starts at 6:30. It will go continuously until 9 o'clock, where different pastors will be speaking. There will be moments of silent prayer mixed in there, but people are welcome to come at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end at any time they like.
Tim Brucker live from Williamsport tonight. Thanks for the update, Tim. Meantime, Governor Tom Ridge expressing his sorrow over today's attack just hours ago. Newswatch 16 Scott Schaefer in the newsroom with more on the governor's remarks, including his call for volunteers tonight. Scott?
Mike, you saw Governor George Pataki from New York standing there with Mayor Giuliani. Governor Ridge talked with Governor Pataki earlier today, and the governor of New York had some requests
from Pennsylvania that might be needed in New York and New York City tonight and over the next few days. Governor Ridge, in turn, called on Pennsylvanians to do their part to help.
I'm going to ask Pennsylvanians to donate blood. There are literally thousands of injured people, particularly in New York City, that we know of. We don't know how great the carnage is in the Pentagon, but we know it's enormous, horrific proportions in New York. I'm going to ask the medical services community in Pennsylvania to establish a volunteer registry. I suspect that the doctors, the nurses, the emergency personnel, even the firefighters may need some relief over the next day or two in New York City. I hope as neighbors and fellow Americans we are prepared to respond that way as well.
Pennsylvania should also number that you will need to call if you are interested in that volunteer registry. The phone number is 1-800-424-7362. That's the number for the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, 1-800-424-7362. You will be asked to verify that you really are a doctor, nurse, firefighter, or emergency management technician when you call. Governor Ridge was very emotional when he made his remarks about 4 o'clock from Harrisburg. He was on his way after that to Somerset County. That's the site of a plane crash. A United Airlines plane crashed near Johnstown, that's southeast of Johnstown in Somerset County. And we are told, there are unconfirmed reports, that plane, too, was hijacked today, but it went down in Somerset County instead of striking anything that might have been considered a sensitive security situation in America. Governor was on his way to that site. 100 state troopers already on site there, and we are waiting for more information from Western Pennsylvania about what really happened to that airplane as well. Mike?
Scott, just a quick update here. We talked about explosions in Afghanistan, unconfirmed, but nonetheless, ABC is reporting tonight they have nothing to do with retaliation or are not connected in any way with what happened in New York City and Washington today. We have pictures from Western Pennsylvania. As Scott just mentioned, the governor is headed here at this hour. United saying that 45 people were aboard Flight 93 from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco. The fate of the passengers not immediately announced here. Boeing 757 crashing north of Somerset County Airport, about 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. Apparently, a man who was a passenger got on his cell phone and told an emergency dispatcher, "We are being hijacked, we are being hijacked." The crash was one of 4 reported Tuesday by United and American Airlines. 2 crashed into the World Trade Center in New York City, and 1 hit the Pentagon in Washington. In Pennsylvania, an emergency dispatcher received a cell phone call at 9:58 a.m. from a man who said he was a passenger locked in a bathroom on board United Flight 93, and said the dispatcher, the supervisor there in Westmoreland County, the man reportedly told officials that the call was not a hoax, and again he repeated, "We are being hijacked."